Right. Hello and welcome to another Move with a Doc. And thank you for joining me today and taking time out of your busy day. As always, during these sessions, feel free to move your body, either stretching, walking, just taking some time to do some micro movements and build them into your day. For today, maybe as we're talking about it, try and do something kind for yourself, maybe incorporating a little bit of self-care into your day. So I think this is a topic that we can all resonate with, and it's something I think we're all trying to work towards. Which is how can we create a healthier work-life balance, and how can we find ways to incorporate self-care into our routine? I know it's something I always struggle with. There are periods in my life where I feel like I do this really well, and then there's periods where it's just such a struggle. So there's always been a lot of talk about work-life balance and what that means, but really what it really just comes down to is, do you have a healthy balance between the time that you spend at your job and the time that you spend on doing things that you really enjoy? Traveling, your hobbies, spending time with your friends, your family, your children. And most importantly, just having time to decompress, rejuvenate, and avoiding burnout, I think. So why is this topic even important? Well, it's no surprise that in our sort of American culture, what we really prize, what really seems to be prized, I should say, is working hard, right? We should always be working, we should be hustling, we should be busy. And when we're busy, that's when we're productive. And that can become really all encompassing. And there definitely is pride to working hard, achieving something, working towards it. But I think, especially as I've gotten older, really recognizing that we need to balance this with our health and well-being. And that really is the crux of what we're going to talk about today. I think we've discussed it before, but stress, of course, has really a lot of negative health impacts. We can develop high blood pressure, which can lead to other heart conditions. Folks can develop just all sorts of somatic complaints, muscle pains, aching, headaches, generalized fatigue. It can even, and I've seen this, can really impact your immune system, leading to other illnesses. I've seen people who work really hard get so stressed that they develop shingles. So there is a lot more about achieving a work-life balance that can affect our health than you may even think about. So there was a recent study by the World Health Organization and the International Labor Organization that found that those folks that work more than 55 hours per week had a higher risk of ischemic heart disease and stroke when compared to people who worked the 35 to 40 hours per week. So that's something to think about. When your work-life balance gets misaligned, you can experience burnout that I mentioned before. This is that feeling where you just constantly feel fatigue. Simple tasks can feel overwhelming. It is a real phenomenon, and I think many of us sometimes don't even realize it's happening, but we're just always feeling really tired or really down. We can feel depressed. We can get anxious. So these are all real phenomena that having that kind of imbalance between work and life can bring us. So it's something to tune into, and it's something to think about. And so we're going to talk maybe about a few tips on how to achieve maybe a better work-life balance. So here's some of my suggestions. But the first one I'll say is there really is no perfect work-life balance. Some days you're going to spend more time on work. Other times you're going to spend more time with personal interests, family, friends, things that you enjoy. But I think what's important, and I think what we don't do a lot, is really if you can come up with a vision, of what an ideal balance would look like to you. And then maybe write that down in terms of your top 1 to 3 priorities of what you'd like to see as an ideal balance in your life. And then each day or each week or even each month, just to reassess and go back to that list and see how you're doing in terms of achieving that balance, what your top priorities and your goals were, and maybe how to circle back around and work towards that vision a little bit. Number 2, I think one of the things that can be important is to really unplug. I'm very guilty of this. I'm sure many of you are, but always checking your work emails when you're on your, time off, your day off, you're on vacation, on the weekends. It can be really nice to give yourself a true break from being immersed in your work and just thinking about your work and your job and like upcoming things in the week. You have to give yourself a break. Simple things that you can do, just reading a book, maybe practicing some mindfulness, some deep breathing, but really taking moments in your day to disconnect, going for a short walk during the day, taking these small breaks to give yourself just a mental kind of cool down. Taking that time to unwind and decompress actually will even make you more productive at work. So it can feel guilty that you're pulling back, but really it's going to make you more productive at your job. Number 3, this one's actually my personal favorite, but and it sounds, but taking a vacation. So according to the State of American Vacation 2018 study that was conducted by the U.S. Travel Association, this one blows my mind. 52% of employees reported having unused vacation days left over at the end of the year. It's just kind of mind-blowing. So we're given this vacation time, we should use it. Employees, of course, are often worried that they're going to, take time off from work, that's going to disrupt their workflow, and that they're going to be met with that backlog, of course, when you come back, right? That could happen, but it's really important to take your time off away from work to physically and mentally recharge. This can be a staycation, so it doesn't have to be a go-away vacation, but it could also be, taking a 2-week vacation somewhere nice. But it could also look like taking a Friday afternoon off a little bit early so you can meet up with friends for dinner. Either way, whatever you do, staycation, vacation, just resist the urge to check work emails and really spend that time doing what you want to do. This is the true meaning of taking a work break. And really, it is very important. Do not leave those vacation days unused unused at the end of your year. Number 4, of course, prioritize your health. Of course, as a physician, this is, top on one of my priorities, but finding time to exercise, incorporate movement into your day. You want to find things that you enjoy doing, whether that's a yoga class, going for a quick run or a walk through nature. All of these things really help with our natural dopamine and can help restore both our physical and our mental health. It's very important. We recently talked about this, but a new study showed that taking even 2 minutes every half hour for those micro movements or micro activities can help us with our endurance and counteract all the sitting that we do during the day. So making sure that you get those small bursts of movements, maybe right now as you're listening to this, instead of sitting all day. So if you have a job that involves a lot of sitting, it is important to get that movement back into your day. Number 5, self-care. So we've talked about this before too, and self-care again can mean so many different things to different people. It isn't, spending money on expensive spas and fancy massages. It can be those things, but it should also be just those small, meaningful things to you. So reading a book, maybe doing some meditation or mindfulness, carving out time for a new hobby that you like. Meeting up with a good friend for coffee, even cooking a nutritious meal for your family. That can be self-care for yourself and for your family. All of that can mean self-care. So I personally, when I need self-care, I love a good nature walk when the weather's nice, because I'm definitely weather dependent. But I also love going to the spa. So it can be all of those things. In the winter, I love like sitting in my sauna, and I'll carve out an hour just to sit in the sauna where I have to really tell myself not to check work emails when I'm in there. So make a list of things that you enjoy. And maybe if you don't have hobbies or things that you enjoy, maybe this is the year of thinking about, again, when I said visioning, think of the things that you enjoy doing and maybe try and incorporate those this year into your routine so that you can achieve a better work-life balance. And then when you do them, this is really key. don't have any guilt about doing those. Don't be on your walk thinking about your kids or about work emails or what you should be doing, like laundry or cleaning up. You have to have mental clarity. You have to decompress. When you do that, you're just a better version of yourself. So I always say nourishing your soul sort of will keep you more engaged and more energized, not only at your job, as an employee, but as your job as a parent, a friend, a spouse, all of those things. You're just better at that. Number 6, this is a tough one, but setting boundaries for yourself and with your colleagues to avoid burnout. When you leave the office, really trying to avoid thinking about upcoming projects, answering company emails. These are all intertwined things, but setting boundaries is important. You could consider having a separate computer or phone for work. I'm lucky enough to have a separate laptop for my job, which I like, so I keep it in a separate room, not in my bedroom. That way you can just shut it down and just not have to think about work. If it's not possible, maybe having separate emails for your work and personal platforms so they're not all intermixed together. And it's important to really set boundaries and guidelines around when you will work and when you'll stop working. Of course, this has become a tough thing for folks in the world of remote working, when your office can actually, might be in the bedroom or right down the hallway. But if you find yourself answering work emails late at night, resist that urge, to do that. Or again, like I mentioned, when you're on vacation, don't check into work emails if you don't have to, if it's absolutely not necessary, because you need to disengage for a while. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody, but you do notice yourself becoming more towards the end of burning out when you're constantly immersed in your work. So again, trying to set those healthy boundaries for yourself and with your colleagues, I think, is important. Number 7, this one is tough, and I kind of dread to even say it, but sometimes the job itself does not lend itself to work-life balance, and it can be toxic. It may have too many expectations that just make it too hard to achieve that work-life balance that you're wanting. And if this is the case, you may need to get a new job, and that's okay. You have one life. You have to live it the best you can and the healthiest you can. If your job is not allowing you to thrive, if it's leading to health problems, anxiety, depression, insomnia, burnout, then you do need to begin searching for a new job ASAP. Certainly before you do that, talk to your boss, your supervisor, and see what changes can be made. But if not, then you should try and search for something that's more aligned with what your vision is for a healthy work-life balance, because it may exist out there and there's no sense being stuck in a position where you're not seeing a way out of that. So if what I just said sounds really daunting to you, and I'm sure it does, how can I find a new job? There are actually so many lifestyle and career coaches out there who can help you clarify your vision and how to find that next position. So maybe reaching out to somebody, that kind of investment can be really beneficial to your future health in finding what your next career goal might look like. So never be afraid to walk away from something that isn't serving you anymore. So that's just another suggestion. So this was kind of a short and sweet talk, but I really just wanted to, kind of give some tips and suggestions to folks. I'm not sure that anyone really has figured out the perfect work-life balance, but hopefully some of the things that I mentioned are helpful to you. But I think at the end of the day, what we should be doing is get back to your vision of what your top priorities are for yourself, and then see how you can balance them with the current job that you're in, and always try and remain true to yourself and your values and your goals first, because I think that's how you can maintain the healthiest balance. So good luck in finding your balance this year. I guess I'll leave you with the thought that There is no guilt in prioritizing yourself first. I truly believe that when you're the best version of yourself, you will give the best to your employer, your job, your career, and you'll be the best version of yourself, and you can give back in the best way. So anyhow, thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and have a fantastic year.